welcome to this FPL Best Midfielders video with me, Holly Shand. In today's video, I'm going to be looking at the most important position in FPL this season by giving you my best 10 midfielders and also their projected points from AI over the first 4 game weeks of the season. Now, this is part of a 3-part series. FPL Best Defenders went live yesterday, so make sure you're subscribing to the channel so that you can watch that one back and hit that like button. Let's get this one to 300 likes. Let's get into it. In 10th place then, I've got Crystal Palace's Eze on a predicted 17.3 points over the first 4 game weeks. He's a player that was thriving under Hodgson in the tail end of last season, 6 goals and 2 assists in the last 10 game weeks. He's also now on penalties as well as direct free kicks and corners. And with Elise injured, he hasn't even got anyone competing with him for those. So the fixtures are a little bit mixed for Palace, but they don't look as bad as maybe they first appeared when you actually set them out and look at his opportunities in these fixtures. So I think he could have a really strong start to the season. In 9th place, we've got Spurs' Heung-min Son, who's projected to score 20 points over the first 4 game weeks. Now, the only reason Son isn't ranked higher is because there's so much uncertainty at Spurs at the moment. With will Kane leave, will he stay, and how will that impact the whole of that Spurs attack? But, you know, it could mean a bigger role for Son. Obviously, he disappointed last season, but we have to remember the previous season he was the Golden Boot winner, and he's come out in the press in the recent days and said that he had injury problems. He wasn't fit last season. He's now back to his best, so it's exciting to see what he can deliver. A $3 million price drop for this season. At some point, he's going to make an absolute mockery of that price tag. In 8th place, it's Brighton's Solly March on a predicted 19.5 points. Obviously, the Seagulls have strengthened in this transfer window with Europe in mind, and it feels now like March is maybe the most nailed-on pick in that attack. There's now competition for Mitoma on the opposite flank. I just feel safer with March now. Obviously, his ownership is a lot lower, but you look at his expected goal involvement last season, 20.9 was the highest of any Brighton asset. 16 attacking returns in there, and I think it's really important to be invested in this Brighton attack due to their favourable fixtures to start the season with. And right now, for consistent points, I feel like March is the way to go. In 7th place is Brentford's Brian Mbomo on 20.3 predicted points over the first 4 game weeks, according to the AI predictions on Fantasy Football Hub. Remember, you can get these as a member with 50% off right now by using the link in the description to this video. And fantastic offer as well. If you don't win your mini league with Hub this season, then you'll get all of your money back. Now, Mbomo's set to thrive with the absence of Tony. He's been reclassified as a midfielder for this season, which I think is beneficial to him because it allows him to collect more points for his actions, and he does play pretty high up the pitch anyway. He is going to be on all of Brentford's set pieces, including penalties with Tony absent. And, you know, he really thrived in the final few game weeks of last season. In the last 10, he got 4 goals and 5 assists. And, you know, easier home fixtures for Brentford to start the season with makes him a really attractive option. And, you know, the reason he's so highly owned is because of all these factors which highly justify his ownership. In 6th place is Manchester City's Phil Foden on 18.7 predicted points. He comes in at 3 million less than Kevin De Bruyne, which is why so many are looking at him as an FPL option. Obviously, minutes is always a risk in Pep Guardiola's side, and while we hope that this could be Foden's key season, especially with some key players departing Manchester City, it's far from guaranteed, but he doesn't even need that many minutes to excel in terms of his fantasy returns. 18 attacking returns last season, and I think it's important with the ease of Manchester City's fixtures to start the season and Haaland's ownership to try and double up if you can, and Foden looks like the most exciting pick to go for if you are wanting to take the risk with rotation. In 5th place is Manchester United's Marcus Rashford, and if you look at the early fixtures for Manchester United, Wolves at home in game week 1 and Nottingham Forest at home in game week 3. This is why Rashford is such a popular pick, because he really excelled on home turf last season. Only Haaland scored more FPL points in home games, with 13 of the 17 goals Rashford scored last season coming at Old Trafford. He was also second for big chances last season with 35, and with the arrival of Rasmus, I think his position is now set, which is only going to help him having that consistent front line at United this season. In fourth place, perhaps controversially, is the first of two Arsenal assets making the top 10, Bukayo Saka. The reason Saka is so attractive is that he's on penalties, although he did miss one in pre-season, so that's something that we need to keep an eye on. But, you know, Arsenal have got fantastic fixtures to start the season with, so I think doubling up on their attack is a really good strategy. And, you know, Saka's ownership above 50% at the moment. I think if he starts the season strongly and you don't have him in your team, then you're going to find yourself on red arrows. He was top for goal involvement among Arsenal attackers last season with 26, 14 goals and 12 assists. And when you compare him to Odegaard, he's got a far higher tally for shots in the box. He provides those more attacking positions on the pitch, which really help to yield goals. In third place is Liverpool's Mo Salah on 24.9 predicted points. He's a player that we cannot overlook. A lot of managers are struggling to justify spending the extra 4 million from the likes of Odegaard, Saka, Bruno Fernandes, and you can see why, but Salah is a player that can absolutely punish. In the final 10 game weeks of last season, he scored the most FPL points of any player, clearly enjoying the tweak in Klopp's system. He got 13 goal involvements in that time. He's also on penalties. Some exciting signings for Liverpool in the window should only strengthen their attack. So do not overlook Salah, but his high price tag compared to those other assets pushes him down this list from #1 spot. In second place is Arsenal captain and key playmaker Martin Odegaard on 22.6 predicted points over the opening 4 game weeks. The algorithm AI prefers Odegaard to Saka, as do I. He was the Arsenal player that scored the most FPL points last season. He's involved in set pieces. He created 14 big chances, which yielded 8 assists, and he's certainly the most explosive of Arsenal's attack with 9 double-digit hauls. So for me, I think if you really want him to go a bit different, then Odegaard over Saka is absolutely fine. He could easily outscore him over the opening 4 game weeks of the season, but maybe the optimal pick here is to double up on those Arsenal assets. Now, in first place for me on 23.2 predicted points is Manchester United's Bruno Fernandes. Significant price drop for him this season, and with those nice early home games, I really think he can excel. Obviously, the arrival of Rasmus Højlund really helps him in terms of having that focal point in his team, because his attackers around him really underperformed last season. He had an XG of 18, only got 10 assists. He was top for key passes with 119 as well. Got that set piece involvement. I think, you know, given what's happened at Manchester United in the window, I think it all lends itself to Fernandes having a really big season in FPL. Remember, a few seasons ago, he was the highest point scorer, and while I feel like he'll fall short of Haaland's tally if he's fit for the whole season, I don't think he'll be that far off. There's the top 10 then, and when you compare them to the AI predictions on Fantasy Football Hub, a few key absences. Kevin De Bruyne on 22.3 predicted points. It does look like he may be fit for game week 1, but I still think at 3 million cheaper, Foden is the better pick. Kaoru Mitoma makes the top 10 ahead of Solly March, but I am a little bit worried about Mitoma as a rotation risk now, given the number of assets Brighton have got in their attack. Could he be found out this season? James Maddison at Spurs also makes the top 10 behind Son. I just feel like there's too many unknowns at Spurs right now to really back Maddison from the off, but he probably will have his time in our FPL squads this season. Remember, as I said at the top then, all of the data in this video taken from the Fantasy Football Hub Opta Stats and Points Prediction tool, which members can get with 50% off using the link in the description to this video. Win your mini league or your money back. This is the second of a 3-part series. You can already catch the Defenders one live on the channel. Forwards will be coming in a couple of days. So remember to subscribe to the channel, hit that notify button so you do not miss it. It'll help me get to 300 likes on this video. Thank you for all your support. I'll be back very soon with another video.